Owain touched on Lando Norris. This was the season where he really emerged and became that title contender we all kind of knew was there. The speed, the talent was all there. It was about pairing that up with the car and seeing how he would fare. And I think, barring a few mistakes, I think he's shown that he can put a title bid together. Whether he's quite ready to win and become world champion is still potentially up for debate. But talk about his emergence as that title contender, obviously having that breakthrough win in Miami, and I think that really was, that got the monkey off the back, sort of, so to speak. And he kind of ran from there, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the catalyst of McLaren kind of coming into play with the constructors and even obviously Lando and even Piastri's kind of driver career as well. For wins, the only thing I think is probably something that obviously does need to be mentioned is the poles to wins conversion and the running joke about Lando on pole losing pole P1 at turn one. He did it quite often as well. Like, I believe he had two poles to win, which was great, but he had a lot of poles where he just lost it because, again, he had a great time off the line, but the cars around him were a lot better in some cases as well. And so it didn't equate to race win. It was only two times that actually did happen out of his four wins of the season. It's interesting as well because you get to see him as a dominant driver, but then you also saw him as a team player throughout the season. For example, the sprint race, giving Piastri the win over himself, obviously letting the papaya rules, obviously that's kind of another kind of topic to discuss on, but we can see that he is in good contention for sure. I think maybe next year, it's hard to say. It also depends on how the car is. 2026 as well, that's also a very big unknown because of the new regulations and development as well. It might be that they turn into Mercedes when the new development comes in and not perform well. It has happened. So I think if there's any other year, it has to be this upcoming season, I think, for Lando because of the unknown and uncertainty that we don't see right now leading up to 2026. Another cool fact as well, I think this dates back since 2018, is the driver who wins Abu Dhabi wins the world championship the following season. So that is a good feat and hopefully another stat that actually works and continues is not broken by Max or whoever drives. But
Sorry to interrupt you there. I also saw another stat that said the driver who's finished second in the championship since 2021 has not won a race the next season. So that was Lewis, Charles Leclerc, and Sergio Perez. So you've got two conflicting statistics here, Sophia.
I will go back to the 2018 one because that stands a lot longer than
Oh.
mind you, it's only two drivers. It's Lewis and Max, but it's still valid because it lasts us for so many more years. There's so many different weird ones. Obviously, we've talked throughout the season about the different curses and Monaco curse, for example, Max's win curse as well, and bits and pieces. So there's so many different ways that you can spin it as well. But I think I'm looking forward to seeing how McLaren do for this upcoming season. I think it's going to be very key in the testing and development leading up to this season. I think looking at that dynamic coming into next year as well, because they both had good race wins, both in the sprint and in the Grand Prix, and have drove very well with each other. They've not had any accidents from my off the top of my head compared to Mercedes, compared to Red Bull, compared to we'll go Alpine as well in that conversation. So I think they're actually quite good together as well. So it's going to be who's going to get ahead of the other. And if they are both battling for the drivers championship, who has the higher role? Who's number one driver? Because they say, like, obviously the papaya rules, they say they don't have a number one driver, but everyone knows there's always a number one driver in any of the teams. So it's quite crazy to see. And I mean, going back also to Hungary, I was there. I wasn't at the Grand Prix, but I was literally there in Hungary on the race weekend for a different sporting event. And the atmosphere of seeing a good Oscar winning and then also just McLaren kind of coming into the fact of being good contenders as well was just an amazing thing to see throughout in Budapest and the different cities around. But I'm excited to see Lando. I think definitely P2, hopefully the World Drivers' Championship